In this video, I want to take a look and listen to this, the Halo 75 V2, a second generation LED heavy keyboard from NuPhy that has some fairly significant improvements compared to its predecessor, which I reviewed in the 96 key variation a little over a year ago. In the interest of full disclosure, this keyboard and the switches that we'll be listening to shortly were sent to me by NuPhy. However, the company had no say in the video content, and as always, I'll present both the good and not so good things based on my perspective. That said, let's get into it. On the whole, the Halo 75 V2 maintains much of the bright and playful identity that NuPhy crafted for the original Halo lineup, with even more backlight prominence due to the white palm plate reflecting the backlight effects. It still has the premium feeling aluminum top case and a practical ABS case base that keeps the Roman column inspired motifs, as well as the sprinkle of some bright and colorful keycaps in turquoise, orange, and yellow, which are accented by some strong south-facing backlight LEDs, as well as the namesake halo light that surrounds the keyboard. The big difference here is that the case base is now semi-transparent, whereas before the halo light was limited to a thin diffuser sandwiched between opaque top and bottom cases. I quite like this new base because it makes the halo light more prominent, which is one of the key selling points of the Halo series. And on the point of lighting, NuPhy have also replaced the muted company branding on the top right corner of the keyboard with a new Halo badge that is backlit by the halo light. This provides a nice complement to the popular status bar light on the left side, which can now be toggled on and off in different combinations with the halo light to tone up or down the keyboard lighting depending on your preference. Beyond this, there are also some considerable internal changes, with the silicon-heavy standoff supported system of the original Halo being replaced by a PCB gasket mounting system with an IXPE switch pad and Poron core sandwiched beneath the palm plate. Additionally, the PCB is backed by a PET sound insulation pad and Poron case foam from underneath. This intricate structure is becoming pretty standard across curated keyboards at this price point. However, this highlights one area that I think NuPhy can improve the Halo lineup still, which is internal accessibility. Currently they're using snap lock cases, which are challenging to open, unlike companies like Keycaps that use bolts, allowing for easy access for modification. Where the modifiability has been improved, however, is the firmware, with NuPhy moving key remapping, macro, and backlight customization from their proprietary NuPhy console software to the open source QMK standard that's easily adapted using tools like VIA. This is a very welcome improvement, as QMK and VIA are pretty well standards in the keyboard community, meaning that there are a lot of forums that you can explore if you want help with firmware modifications. The Halo V2 also features an upgrade to the radio frequency connection, which now supports 1000 Hz polling, as well as improved connection speeds across the wired and wireless modes. The keyboard still includes 3 dedicated Bluetooth connections as well. Strangely though, the radio frequency dongle protrudes quite a bit from its storage slot. Testing the keyboard's 4000 mAh battery under the worst case conditions of solid full brightness lighting, I got 15 hours of battery life, with a very consistent drop of about 10% per hour until only 10% of the battery life remained, at which point the light dimmed to stretch the battery out at a loss rate of about 2% per hour, which seems fairly respectable. The Halo V2 series also features new keycaps. They're still PBT and a double shot construction, however the new MSA shape, while having a similar overall height to NuPhy's previous Halo keycaps, now has more of a spherical angled sculpting that faces the user a little bit more, as well as larger and more rounded top surfaces, which feel a lot smoother and less sharp than the previous version. All of which I think improves the comfort while typing. You'll also notice that the Halo V2 legends are now centralized and have a little bit more rounding in the characters, with peripheral keys featuring all caps lettering now, which I personally prefer over the mixed case lettering from before. That said, I was disappointed that the Halo V2 didn't include extra colored keycaps for the enter and escape keys like the original, They simply provide Windows alternative keycaps, so you're stuck with the complete NuPhy color scheme if you want to keep the default keycaps, which you may or may not like. However, I will say, NuPhy now offers the Halo keyboards in themed green, blue, and pink versions, in addition to the black and white, which is nice, though I personally still prefer the basic black. Regardless of which color you choose, one of my favorite improvements is the addition of 3 small shine-through homing bars on the base of the J, F, and up arrow keys, which make the most of the south-facing RGB backlight. My preference is to keep the Halo V2 lit with this new homing bars only backlight effect in turquoise, coupled with a simple halo effect to balance the keyboard look with battery life. Beneath these new keycaps, we find 3 new in-house switch options as well. NuPhy's Mint, Raspberry, and Lemon switches, which offer 37 and 46 gram linear responses, as well as a heavier 55 gram tactile response, respectively. Each has a palm stem paired with a polycarbonate case top and nylon bases, 21mm springs, and come pre-lubricated. It's also worth noting that NuPhy is selling the Halo V2 configured with Cherry Silent Red clear top switches for an extra $10. These have a 45 gram operating force, palm stems, fully nylon cases, and 18mm springs. But let's have a listen to how each of these sound back to back. Overall, I think the Halo 75 V2 sounds quite nice for an unmodified, off-the-shelf mechanical keyboard. I quite like the silicon-dampened Ghost Bar spacebar, and have used it on other keyboards in the past, so I'm glad to see that it's back in the second generation of the Halo. It's also worth noting that the plate-mounted stabilizers don't seem to require any significant tuning, and come heavily, perhaps even excessively, lubricated right out of the box. All of the NuPhy switches feel nice and smooth when typing, with the linear Mint switches being noticeably lighter to activate than the Raspberries, resulting in a slightly louder striking noise under my typing force. Similarly, the Lemon switches provide a noticeable tactile bump, which I personally quite like, though they are easily the loudest switches in the bunch. Alternatively, the biggest contrast comes with the Cherry Silent switches, both in terms of sound and feel. The drop in noise is substantial, hence the name, but this comes with a good amount of squishy feeling, almost like an O-ring modification had been placed around the switch stem. I wouldn't go so far as to say that they feel mushy, but they certainly don't feel as crisp as the non-silent alternatives. It's also worth noting that the silent switches sound noticeably scratchier than the other ones. Perhaps it's because they're just quieter overall, but I can hear more of the contact between the stem and the housing, as well as between my finger and the keycap while typing. That said, these are definitely the best option for shared workspaces if you're working with peers that don't like the clickety-clack of a mechanical keyboard. But what do you think? Let me know which switch you prefer using the comment section below. Overall, I think the Halo 75 V2 is a commendable upgrade, worthy of the second generation badging. It offers noticeable upgrades in terms of lighting, keycaps, and the movement to QMK firmware customization, all of which are considerable improvements over the original. And at $130 USD, I think that makes for a compelling package that competes well against alternative curated mechanical keyboards in this price range. That said, if you are interested in applying your own internal modifications, the NuPhy Halo case doesn't make that easy, and I would probably point you towards something like a Keychron V1 Max, which sacrifices some of the lighting of the Halo, but offers easy case access via bolts. But let me know what you think using the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.